Assalamu alaikum. This is the advanced comparative constitutional advocate Gulraiz Ashfaq, and salam to everyone, and Muslim Ummah especially. As we all know that the advanced sort of the comparative issues which I observed during the continuation of the 2016 meanwhile 2016 towards 2022. As a highly skilled advocate of the upper courts, I was basically observing a lot of factors. And today I would like to discuss all such series of my life that which are the concurrent achievement of mine which are in the uh, federal concurrent legislative list. I said federal concurrent legislative list. Yes, as a bureaucrat, I developed this issue, restoration resolve method by myself. So during the year 2016, when I was basically practicing in the High Court, I observed that the base issue of the Lahore, because I had started my practice in the Lahore division and the subdivision. So I observed that it became mandatory for me to observe that which factor is in the ob scene and prime scene in the public sector. When I observed that the public was basically suffering from the lot of issues as per human, I just felt so down. And thereafter, I observed that what should and what would be a law written on my part, because in the federal legislative concurrent applied list, in the federal Shariat Court, in the federal Supreme Court, and in the Supreme Judicial Council, I had invested round about 7 years, 16 to 22, yes, 7 years, at most 6 7 years, in order to observe that a lot, the 10 basic advanced achievement of mine. Today we would be discussing my personal achievements which I have done over my shoulder, and it appears to be a very dark constitutional issue as well. When I have completed my law, I just entered into the practice of the law in the subordinate court. When I observed the situation in the subordinate court, I basically just felt so tempered with myself that what the hell the individuals are doing in the private capacity. When I observe that the individuals are doing something out of their way in the private capacity, and the same individuals in their private capacity are not trying to become public in their public capacity because of their not observation of their self into the human observation fiscal transcripted areas, measurable one, standing order as well. So when I observe all these issues, I just write applied federal reference order, and I'm still in the continuity and continual part of the same uh, since 2016, every day. Yes, my first law, which I just am very proud to disclose to the public of the Pakistan, that I'm the federal legislative applied judicial officer, whatever you consider, because the legislation enactment is the top listed issue of the federal statute as well. So when I just observe that the federal statute itself is in the opposition line to the public, thereafter what and which factor lead me, in the public factor. So thereafter, I just observe the females problem, and I'm the person in the whole of the Pakistan who just raised the landmark observation judicial question that what does the intangible rights of the female stand, and what is the difference between the tangible rights. So when I just wrote a book and an act which is not being passed by the parliament and the senate, it's because they do not have such a type of the expectations that any person in the Pakistan can carry forward a law which favors the issues of the females. They don't have the idea regarding the side. They do not expect it. But unexpectedly, when I became advanced comparative constitutional advocate, what I did is a landmark achievement of mine. The prohibition of the blood marriages. Yes, I observed this. The prohibition of the blood marriages in the provincial autonomy Punjab, especially as to observing the contra criminal issues. An act to provide the permanent relief to the females of the Pakistan. Permanent relief. An act which provide the permanent relief to the females' intangible rights of the Pakistan. So I am the person who just wrote this federal statute by itself, which is in the federal concurrent applied legislative list in the Pakistan, and sooner or later will be published at per my name, because I am the founder of the same in the Pakistan, and no one have no right. And this is the dispute between me and the other reciprocate departments. They want the federal and the other department names, but I am not willing to let they have their name, because they do not and did not spend a single hour to write the law which I am saying by myself. It took me 6 years consecutively. So that is a very short-listed law which I just wrote by myself during the year 2020. I became lawyer in 2016, and it took me 4 years to write the law. After day in and night out, I was just in the libraries and observing that the lawyers' observations, the judicial observations, the statutory borders, the bypasses of the injunctions. I was observing those issues, that what the public meant to be and what the public needed in the most of the life of the same. In fact, because I figured that if the public itself is not willing to observe their issues, thereafter someone have to become public in order to oversee their upcoming issues, and I just expect nothing from anyone. I ignore everything day in. I have to. You cannot believe that fact that I have to. I just walk on my foot 30 miles per day, 4 years. And during that walking, I observe ultimate aggression of the men dominant societies over caste in the females. When I observed that the females, I was bound by myself because I was a law practitioner, and I'm still the law practitioner. So I just wrote, despite of a fixation of the tickets, I chose to become a legislator. It took me to the very next level of practice of the law. When I just wrote that, then I observed the adolescent issues. My second achievement in the whole of the globe is that I am the whole person in the whole of the globe who had written the law about the adults. In the same sense, my third virtual observation was the Succession Act 1925 applied in the Pakistan. When I observed the succession cases, In the Pakistan, I was bound to observe the succession laws, and I have already written succession, federal, concurrent, applied legislative order as well against the Succession Act of 1925. And thereafter, when I was bound to observe the violence against the adolescent, yes, I was comparing the adolescent laws. The Brooklyn law is not in the affair of the issues of the children. In the same sense, when I observe the Brooklyn law, the Labor Act 2016, the children who works in the Brooklyn and in the Batta services, this is an offense in the Pakistan. But despite of that, when I compare to the city, that in the city is the same said questions of the shops in the public appears to be a top listed question again. When I observe that the top listed question of the same in the public sector becomes that the Bata services in the rural area. But what about the urban children? I observed that adolescent under the urban areas became an objected piece of working for the remainder proportion of their family, and I was bound to write an applied judgment against them in the year 2021. And since of year 2021, I just every night without break, I was just applying all of the judgments retroactive in concurrence by myself over my uh, digital designed judgments, that what should be done, and the prescriptions under the article 12, 9, 10, 11 of the Kanun Shahadat Order 1984. Thereafter, when I just observed the prohibition of the blood mixed marriages, why I just raised that law in Pakistan? Because the gross root issue in the Pakistan always appeared to be the blood mixed marriage, and thereafter the resultant issue of the defection clauses would be observed in the public sector as a marital issues, civil issues. Thereafter, I observed those factors by myself under my sleeves, and I was bound to rotate a lot of law by myself. A lot of the lawyers said to me that you are not in the line and length of the same, but I just broke away all the records of the prior historians as well. When I was busy while breaking the records of the historians, the ordinary individuals were fighting for their bread and butter because of the poverty factor. The question which I observed during that highly being a highly skilled practitioner is not an ordinary skill to remain. When you are very expensive lawyer and you have your value, then you don't have sufficient time to execute the things. This is a myth, and this is a time myth which I observed in my life. In the same said depiction of the facts, when I was basically observing all these factors, thereafter the sector of the question of the public resilience became an orthodox thought to me, that what about the individuals who are humanitarian, negligent driven? When I was just always coming back from the high court after just observing all of my observation orders by myself, thereafter I was shocked to observe the small children fighting for the lives. I was totally out of my senses, and I was bound to write the executive laws without any reciprocate help of anyone, just a computer and me and myself and I. Yes, and thereafter I was bound to read the interpretation clauses of the Constitution as well. This appears to be the gross issue which I have faced in my life by myself. After channelizing a lot of questions, I just wrote a law prohibition of the violence against children in the urban area, regardless of rural area. Yes, the rural individuals could not become a part of any issue because they're very sharp. The individuals residing in the urban cities become oftenly product of the violence in, and I am the person who wrote the domestic law regarding the domestic civil issues in the Pakistan. And in the same connection of the affairs, these are my achievements. And after that, I have written a lot, every day an article. 365 multiplied by 6 years. 365 multiplied by 6 years, it means more than 5,000 applied constitutional international level articles prior effective to the upcoming dates. These are my achievements in this age as a lawyer, and no individual lawyer can do these sort of perfect activities, and without the reciprocate help of anyone. Because I was a web designer, I have learned the art of the web designing, multimedia issues. I utilized those web designing through the artificial intelligence via the Article 46A of the Kanuni Shahadat 1984. And I have developed a lot of the laws as per the observation of the public research area under the Research Analyst Report Act 2015 federal statute. I observed that as well. And without having the reciprocate help of the common masses, I was doing these things with even sometimes even with having no food, because I was very mad, totally mad, and still I was totally mad about the laws. And this is a disease. When you are into the law addiction, this is another addiction, the legal addiction. Then you just always live in a solitary area of living. You don't want to merge with the public because of the observation of the public about themselves. This is my observation about the uh, you can say that the bookworm type of individuals. When I was basically observing all these scenarios under my life, thereafter the public was very integrated with those issues which have no value, because the public at fiscal deficit disorder is a question of today. A person is suffering from deficit disorder and the same person is not willing to observe the same is a question of today, not of today, even the history as well. So my question always have a firm stand when the individuals have developed the habit of negating to their senses thereafter. Who is going to conduct the consensus about the same is a question. When I just observe the guardian issues, I'm the person who observed the guardian and ward issues in the Pakistan. Despite of a fixation of the tickets, I was observing the next level issue, that the e-tag digital services. E-tag digital online services despite of the offline track yardsticks. Because when you just observe that any case would be filed in any Supreme Court or High Court, thereafter the court record area would have been reckoned as an empty room in the same, because of not having the back position and the adverse position of the judiciary. And the said individuals always blame the judicial officer as well. This is my third integrated civil defection recovery order. Thereafter, when I observe that the individuals have been found in the habit of negations to the civil descriptions as well, thereafter I was bound to observe the rotation of the laws as well by myself. When I just observe the Pakistan Penal Code, I am the person in the whole of the Pakistan who even challenge the Pakistan Penal Code 1860, because the substantive law 1860 always favors the police department and the police order 2002 despite of the aggrieved or aggressor, accused or offender, co-accused or co-guilty. These basic terms I observe in the whole of the Pakistan, but no one is willing to observe the same. The Urdu grammar in the police language have no value. I am the person who raised a landmark judicial question that the FIR should not be launched in the Urdu language. Why you launched the FIR in the Urdu language? This is a question. I'm just raising the statutory question on the part of my advocacy. If you launch an FIR against any accused person, it means that you have some revenge from the same. You have some pecuniary benefit from the same. And if the other person have the political issues, then the FIR meant to be right. Yes, we have the civil defection recovery police order as well. So I'm the person as a bureaucrat. I just apply myself in the public sector and always reflect with the a lot of legislative federal statute units as well under the myself, because wherever I just try to just speak anything, the knowledge and the knowledge base is always in the legal shape out of my face as well. Proverb invented. So these are the things which I have invented in my small span of life up till now, without even having any senior lawyer. But I have a couple of lawyers in my list. They are very good. But no one told me to write the polite judgments. I have connection, that is my secondary connections in their tax matters and the other matters. But they don't. Nobody was there in that position to observe the areas of the females. No one was there to observe the areas of the females defection. I was night in and night out. I remember myself how mad I was, who was just writing the articles even 24 hours a day. 6 year I was continuing that habit, and up till now my parents are very upset with me as well. They don't know that I was basically into the habit of over rotation of the civil defection areas of the civil services as well, 1973, because I figured it out. Everything rotates in the Pakistan. When I when I observed that these were the things, I would like to entail these things, because you never know which is the last day of your life. That's why I just explain my some achievements, self-composed achievements as a highly skilled lawyer, come judicial observation reference compilator as well, while Article 184 of the constitutional limits. So stabilize, take care, the advanced comparative constitutional advocate.